how do you think the data center business revenue of the graphics card vendors will exceed the revenue of the gaming PC business?
There is a twofold thing happening here. So one is the consumer demand has weakened. The macro condition has weakened the consumer demand a lot. And the spike that in the COVID period that we saw did not translate to the demand at the same pace as it was expected. So within the consumer cycle, these two things happened. The demand actually was not at that high pace. And the second, now that the macro demand is super weak, the consumer spending also has drawn low. And typically the gaming spend specifically are people who can afford those gaming chips. Usually it's an add-on one. So the dedicated gamers, either they are delaying the spends of their next gaming upgrades, or the newer persons being more pragmatic in when they are trying to say, do I want that or do I not want that? So this will definitely, we will see gaming demand again kind of ramping it up. Just a bit later in the year, we would see again it out ramping because of the newer titles, and the people who had delayed their upgrades will be upgrading, and probably a bit of the fiscal easing also from the governments itself, and the consumer spending getting more clearer, and the whole economy becomes more better, and we have a lot more visibility on what is happening. Now on the second front, data center one. So the data center demand is exploding because of 2-3 reasons. So it's not exploding at the same pace as it was expected, but it is not declining. So there must be the argument coming, right? The macroeconomic weakening is everywhere. It is as equal to consumers as for enterprises, right? But what is happening is it's the companies are definitely not spending at the same pace as they were probably that they had announced last year when the economic condition was a lot better. But still they are expanding it out because of two reasons. Firstly, they have to upgrade and IT infrastructure due to the digitalization and the transformation that happened during the COVID. It was too much at a too fast pace for everyone. Everything had to be digitized just to adopt to the new conditions that we were working in, and their current existing IT infrastructure was not ready to cope with it. So the companies at that time, there were a lot of supply chain issues going on and supply shortages going on. And so the companies right now are firstly expanding on upgrading their data center infrastructure, or the IT infrastructure, as we say. And then the second demand actually comes from the newer use cases. So generative AI is definitely one of the driving factors for data center demand this year. And that is kind of coming in from the last year itself. If we kind of investigate it out, how the other company spends, and specifically the data center co-location providers, so we see that a lot of demand, that the equipment purchases have been done and the orders are coming on in, like the order. And there is still a lot of backlog, and specifically a lot of networking companies have still a lot of backlog in the data center equipment one, because the demand it's coming in through because of these new use cases, generative AI, which requires a lot of data center hardware infrastructure. It needs actually thousands and thousands of racks to just train one model, and over a period of months or years, depending upon how big your model you are transforming. So that is the one major driver. Then the second driver is actually the automotive is another use case, I would say, as they are trying to go into some level of autonomous. I'm not talking about like level 5, I think that's way out. But even if we talk about level 3 and 4, they need to train the models or train the system itself to have that inherent nature. And that's why they need the data centers to do up with the capacity. Then we have the 5G, which VRAN, ORAN, and private networks. And because most of it is becoming software based, they again need some kind of deployments happening. And from a consumer perspective, we see a lot of OTT consumption right now. So to fulfill that OTT consumption, we need the data centers, and these are more at edge. We are talking about edge data centers we need. And then the second demand is again, as I said, from IoT, which means real-time monitoring. So if we are talking about real-time monitoring, there needs to be real-time handling of the data also. And that's why there is a huge demand in data centers at edge also. And once the data centers are at edge, at the central location, we need to also have a data center just so that it can process the more long ranges, patterns and trends, and again, the insights that can be used to make the systems more intelligent, more smarter, and more efficient in the next ones. So that's my take on from both an enterprise and consumer perspective. And I think this will continue to rise as we go, for sure. Like as we generate more data, we would need some place to store and analyze that, and data centers are right now the only places where we can store and analyze whatever we are generating.